Hey, hi. So we are back. Just giving me 1 or 2 minutes if people join back in by that time. Um, just quickly checking if the lag persists or not. Seems like it's working fine. Okay. Continuing from where we left off, building the user's controller. Um, so yeah, I think user follower mostly has been all done. I have pushed the code for that as well. Okay. Um, right. I believe there is no lag this time around. If anybody is online, sure if you can mention on the chat that if you're seeing any lag still or not, because it does not seem like there is any lag right now anymore. Uh, okay, we got so this is the benefit of, by the way, the actions thing is that if you go to actions and you can see all the commits that I have done. So on every commit, it runs the build and test job. It just uh, runs the test, and you can see the output of the test as well, like controller spec has passed, hashtag spec has passed, all that stuff. Right. Okay. Thanks for confirming, Ujjwal and Jaiswant, that it's all good now. Uh, okay. Um, let's go ahead. So I have done the controller part for users. The post one is left. Post has only a few endpoints. So let me quickly do that, and then we will start building the entities and connecting to the database. So for the users, for the post controller, we need get flush, and we'll say that get all. Yeah, I think get post slash post ID slash uh, okay. Uh, then this is to create a new post. So we need a post endpoint on slash create new post. This is to delete a given post. Okay. Mm, and we need to like a post and unlike a post. So these two are needed. Put on slash post ID slash uh, like post. And quite similar to unlike a post. Just need a delete endpoint for that. Good. So your delete endpoint post unlike this post. Good. Post controller is also done. Great. Now we'll start creating the database side of things. So how to create the database side of things? Let's quickly check. So to use databases, we need, I think, type ORM. So we'll do it using type ORM to use databases. So we'll install type ORM, and instead of MySQL, I'm using Postgres here. That's a more commonly used enterprise level standard database. What I also commonly used when most projects I do. Although in our project, actually, it does not really matter which database we use a lot because type ORM being an ORM, it wraps over both MySQL and Postgres. So you could use either database and your code base would still look similar. Okay. So we'll do is npm install and we need to install type ORM and we also need a nest slash type ORM package actually. Okay, this is okay using databases. In fact, this is a better way of doing it. So we'll use NestJS slash type ORM plus type ORM and PG and PGH store. Okay. Once that's done, we will have to install a type ORM module. Okay, so we'll do that. So we'll do stuff like this. We'll create a ORM config.json, which will contain details about which entities to load and all that stuff. So I'll the ORM config can be at the root level or where? We're gonna project root directory will do that. So we'll add a new file orm config.json Type would be Postgres, localhost 33. These things are not needed actually because uh, default port it will use. I need to create a username, password, and database. That is important. So, or if I don't use a ORM config, then also there are some options. I'll just do it. Let's say not use ORM config. So, first of all, let me create a database. So I will do is create database MoDB. I will just write these commands down in the README. Uh, to set up database. So create database MoDB, then create user admin with encrypted uh, password. Create user admin with encrypted password, just password. Okay, that also works. And then we'll do is grant all privileges on database MoDB to moadmin. Okay, so create database MoDB, that's the first command. Then to create a user, we have to use this command. So I'll write that down, and we have to grant the privileges to the database. So it is okay. Now to connect the database, what we need to do is in my app module.ts apparently I have to do mod imports. I have to do type orm module dot for root, and I have to pass these options here. Okay. So the options are basically type Postgres, username would be moadmin, password would be just what we created right now a little while back, right? Database name would be MoDB. We will synchronize and I will also add logging. Okay, so I'll add logger to be of type advanced console and logging all. Okay, so I will log everything. Okay, so create the type orm module stuff, and you have to create this entities thing. Our entities are where we'll add our entities. So we will add those entities. So to create the entities, what we do is essentially um, nest generate. Well, I think we can't generate entities as such because there is no recipe for generating entities. You have to create them by hand. There is no way to create entities. You can just simply go to users. And what are the entities that we need? Essentially, these are the entities we need. We need users, we need posts, we need hashtags, likes, blah, blah, blah. So let's create users, for example. So to create an entity in type ORM, think they would not have given an example, would they? Yeah. So we do it like this: entity export class. So we define our tables in form of classes, and the fields inside them, ID, first name, last name. These are basically the columns. Okay. So that's how type ORM works. Type ORM is a object-oriented ORM, so it's a class-based one. So you create proper classes and fields and all, and then it does strict type checking and everything. So I'll do that. So we need for user, we need ID. So, yeah, so export class user entity. So we need an ID. So there is a documentation of TypeORM on typeorm.io, by the way, where we can get more details about how to define entity. Uh, Entities can sort of inherit and all as well, as it is shown. We can create abstract class and inherit from that and all that stuff. Um, so there is a primary generated column uh, where we can define some options, in fact, strategy. So strategy, we can use UUID. ID, which is gonna be of type string, right? Okay. What other things we need? We need a username. We need a name of the bio, follower count, and verify. Now here's the thing. The entity's table name we can provide here. Basically, the name of the entity should be users, so we provide that there. The name of so follower count, these in my JavaScript code, is that I'm using camel case and not underscore case. So if that's the case, that I'm always using camel case and not underscore case, then it's better that I write follower count like this and followee count like this, or I can write just followers and uh, follow, or I can just write the camel case thing. And in the decorator for this, I can write a column decorator of type string, and then I can write options like, so there are various ways you can write the column decorator. So column, you write the type, and then you write, these other things. So name becomes, so here we can define the actual column name, which is underscore case, but in our case, it's a camel case in our code. Start with default 0, let's just say. So similar would be for the case of followee count. Boolean column for verified. Bio would be text column. Text we can give sort of length of bio as 240, let's say. So username is capped at 30 and name at 50. So I'll add those two as well. This is capped at 30. This is capped at 50. We need to do another few things. So nullable should be false for username can't be null. Okay, and username must be unique as well. So okay, name and all those things can apparently be null in follower count, and verified boolean. That's done. Okay. Now at this stage, if I just try to run my app, by the way, right, and I don't think it's already running. Let me just sort of start this app. So it is running one command which is start transaction information schema and all. But if I add this entity here, user entity, and save this. First of all, it sort of fails because unable to uh, connect to database. So data type string is not supported in Postgres, dot username and all. So you have to change all of that to we can do char varying. I think I can just not pass any data type. That should also probably work. And these are supposed to be number anyway, by the way. Okay, still have another function UUID generate v4 does not exist. So apparently for this we'll have to make some changes to Postgres. I will see that. So let's copy this error for a while. Function UUID generate does not exist. Let's check this. So there is a create extension if not exists UUID OSSP. We have to run this. So we have to select database MoDB, and we have to add this extension. This is done, and now it should start working. So Postgres by default does not have the UUID extension turned on, which I just turned on right now. So yeah, I think the user table gets created here, right? If I actually go to my database, right, and connect to MoDB, and I try to define my table. So there is the users table, and if I describe the users table here, this is ID, UUID, username, name, bio, all are character varying 30, 50, 250, follower count, following count are integers, and verified is Boolean. Okay. Verified Boolean, I believe we want that verified Boolean should also have a default value of false. So if we do those changes, that gets updated accordingly. That the verified column is supposed to show false default value. Okay. So that's how entities are created. This is my user entity having created. Is the video stuck? Ashutosh, you're saying the video is stuck. It seems to me I'm getting 240 FPS connection only from the dashboard. That's what I can see. I am typing stuff on the screen, so it should not appear to be stuck. Oh, my camera source. Okay. Interesting. That does seem to be stuck. Let me delete that and add another one. Okay. Let me actually, I'll update that. Okay. I think my face cam is working now. I was stuck because of some reason. I don't know why. But my screen was still coming, right? Cool. So the user's entity is done here. Let me commit this much. Uh, yeah, I mean, really doesn't matter as long as the code is visible and you guys can see the code. That's what matters. But yeah, this is not working, so I just fixed that. Um, okay, so we got the user entity working. We need to add a few more entities like this as well. Now, when I want to make a next entity, I would like to take a look at this base entity stuff, how to create a, entity inheritance. So you can reduce duplication in your code by some entity inheritance stuff, which I want to do because, as you would notice, that posts also have ID, UID, and I want to have created at and updated at on every column. So let me do that. I'll do is um, so I'll make a directory src slash commons, and I will create something. Nest generate. I don't need to generate. I'll just go to commons and I will create a new file. Base.entity.ts. Okay. So base.entity.ts, and here I will add these things. So there's a content entity which contains these things, which are going to be common there. So we can extend that. So I'll create a export abstract class base entity, and then we will do is add this column there, the ID column, which will add a create date column, uh, created at normal column options, right? And we need to update that column as well. So update that column. We can add a deleted at column as well for those kind of cases. But anyway, great. So we need to move base entity like this. So we will do is extend user entity from move base entity. Okay. Uh, this should still create the same table naturally. Let's just ensure that. So yeah, it has created at and updated at columns as well, right? An ID has been created. If I have to create the post column, so post would go into posts, and here there will be a new file, post dot entity dot ts. So entity of table name post export class. What do we need in a post entity? We already have the ID done. We need text of 240 characters. So I'll call it body or text, whatever. Yeah. So text is of type string. We need author. So we need a author foreign key relationship, and then let's see how to do those kind of things here now, right? Um, it just seems my camera keeps getting stuck. I'll just remove that anyway. It's not bother actually. Jason, yeah, to give a idea of what we did in the last 5 minutes of the last session, okay, there was simple stuff. Just added a workflow file here. Uh, this thing, which does is you know, there is, it does run on Ubuntu with Node.js version 14 and 16, and it's gonna, check out the project, and then it's gonna install and unbuild and then run test. Okay. So this it runs this test every time, and it runs this test every time. So if you go to actions now of that project, you can see that uh, sorry, not this one. Uh, okay, so you can go to actions and you can see that every time I pushed, it runs the test, and you know every time the test runs, we can see which tests have passed, right? Report is sort of generated. And then as the report is generated, we have a badge which says that, okay, Node.js CI is passing. So it gives somebody confidence, a new person who comes to this project and sees that, okay, this project is in a building state. So if I git clone this and try to build it, it should build because on the CI it is building. Okay. Let me do the post entity, and then let me add something called code coverage, and then we'll discuss what is code coverage. So, Ujjwal, you have a good question. So, whether it's a good structure to put the controller and the entity in the same place. So, there are two ways of structuring projects. One where we divide the code base in terms of uh, type of files, and the other is where we divide it in terms of domain. Okay, so domain-wise division and typization. So, how they would look like is that if I just open a new project. So, say for this project, it would be like, there's two ways of doing it. So inside SRC, let's say we will have, we would have controllers, we will have services, and we will have entities. And here we would have something like, users dot entity dot ts and post dot entity dot ts. Okay, and we would have users. We might have services for liking as well. So, follow dot service dot t, the follow related services, which does not have its own entity. Just the user entity is sufficient to do following, but let's just say like that. And then controllers, we might have controllers also users dot controller dot ts and post dot controller dot ts, etc. There's the other way of doing the same project is we do like this. We divide things by the domain. We write, users and posts and hashtags. And then inside users, we have the users dot controller dot ts. We have the users dot service dot ts, and we have the users dot entity.ts. Okay. And then we wrap that all together into something called a user.module.ts. Now, generally, this structure is what I prefer personally over this structure because then you can create microservices out of this folder itself and then put it into another project very easily because everything related to users are here. And then, user module becomes like a feature level division of your project. So we are dividing things in terms of features rather than in terms of layers. This is a layer wise division, right? So this is the entity layer in a folder, service layer in a folder, and controller layer in a folder. Now, essentially, when you make any kind of changes in users, you would have to change this file and this file and this file, all three. It's what I feel. Okay. Right. And in this case, if you want to make user related changes, they would all happen inside this folder and might not touch changes in the other folders. So this is a feature-wise division. This is a layer-wise division. Both are fine to do. Many projects use type 1, many projects use type 2. I personally prefer to use this type 2 way of division when I'm making my projects. Hopefully that answers your question, right, Ujjwal? So as you can see in my project right now, that's how I'm doing it. I'm putting post-related stuff in post, user-related stuff in user, and so on. And if there is something which I cannot really classify as any particular feature, I'll put them in the commons. Just a second. Okay. Um, that was about the testing stuff. Anyway, continuing with the post entity, what are the things that we need to add? Images would be an array of string, so we'll see that images would be array of string type. We'll see how those things are handled. Likes count and repost count. So hashtags would be an array again. And mentions would be apparently an array as well. So not of string, but of something else. We can do is we can have a mention object here. It has a name of type string, and it has got uh, ID of type UID. So ID is also going to be of type string. So array of mention. Right. Images would be of type JSON actually. Like count would be of type number and all. Here the name would be like count. Um, this would also be of type JSON, and this would also be of type JSON type. Okay. Empty arrays by default. Like count default 0. This should also be default 0. Okay. Um, Text string. Awesome. We need some embedding stuff now, which is we need to have some relationships. So original post. So if I write original post, right? Which is like if this is a repost of a post. So if I am just retweeting, right? If I retweet, then it will be a reference to another tweet. So I can do original post, which should be of type post entity. And it has to be one-to-one relationship. One can be a repost of one only. So one to one relationship. To type actually um, post entity basically. Inside one-to-one, we either write some object type, something like this, and inverse side options and all. So just this one should work. Should be of type post entity, original post. Uh, Reply to could also it could be a reply to another post as well. So we would actually have a very similar reference to uh, reply to another post entity like this. A couple of things. The text, we must add length 240. Nullable false, can't be nullable. Images again, default is empty array. Uh, yeah. So let's just run this one. I'll just add to app module and in the entities, add the post entity. Let's check now. So we've got the post table. If I look at the post table, so foreign keys did not get created as it seems. So ID got created, text, images, like count, repost count, all that is there. The one-to-one entity, these did not get created, it seems. Let me quickly check one is to one. How can we do that? Uh, can we use Open API with Nest Swagger? Yeah, obviously we can do that, Pulkit. I haven't added that yet. We'll do that. I mean, right now we haven't actually OpenAPI 2 or I think OpenAPI 3 is what is by default gets used if we add the Swagger entities. So right now I've generated all the endpoints. I can actually do that. I'll do that right now. Let me quickly check why this one-to-one entity did not actually, the original post one did not work. So let's go to this. One-to-one relationships, how to work them out, one-to-one profile. Oh, it's supposed to be a join column. I did not write that, my bad. Uh, Join column here. Then if I write join column here as well. Right, cool. Let's see now. Yeah. So there is original post ID, reply to ID. We wanted them to be underscored once if we do that, so then we can actually change that as well. You know, join column and supposed to contain options name, right? Yeah, better now. So original post ID, UUID like this, reply to ID, everything is with underscore case on the database side. Can be null. These can be null obviously because with the text, we have one option. If a post is only a repost, then the text can be null, I guess. So let's not keep it nullable false, in fact. Only thing is if text is also null and original post is also null, then we would have a bit of a problem actually. But that's fine, I think. If both are null, those are not valid posts technically. We'll have to make a check for that on the application layer. Uh, just made it not null. Remove the not null parameter. Seems to have not updated. By the way, if you want to forcibly update the table completely, we can go to app module and here we can just write, drop schema true. So it will drop the table and create it every time. It's not a good thing to do. Apparently, still not null is not working. So text length 240. I just add manually true. That's fine now. Can be null. Right. I'm just adding nullable to true because if text is null and original post ID is something, then it means it's a repost, right? If original post is null, then it means it's a fresh post. But if it's a original post ID is some entity, but there's also some text, it means a quote tweet, as we do on Twitter. When we quote tweet, we quote one tweet, and plus we add some our own comments also to that. So that's what it would be like, right? Okay, so that's what our post entity is supposed to look like. We have other entities to build. We need the hashtags and the likes and the hashtag post. So we'll just get there. Uh, Pulkit asked a good question. I will actually cover that. So let me just push the code till here. Add post entity. How to add the Swagger stuff. So here there's, I think, to add Open API specification, we can add a NestJS slash Swagger. And right now we are using Express in our app. We can use Fastify as well, by the way. And then let me switch to Fastify. The difference between Fastify and Express is, Fastify is a faster web framework than Express. And there are some benchmarks also about it. Fastify, it's a faster web framework, and there are some benchmarks here which says that this was run on Intel Core i7 machine with 4 gigahertz 64 GB RAM and running Express, Happy, Restify, Fastify, etc. So as you can see, Express ran around 16,000 requests per second, while Fastify ran 70, well, almost 80,000 requests per second. So that's 5 times faster. So if Fastify is 5 times faster, it's a better thing to go for. So let me, if I want to use Fastify, so how to use Fastify? We do this. We install uh, fa platform Fastify uh, in our code base. I'll stop this for a while, and we'll remove platform Express. Actually, we won't need Express. Types of Fastify is not a, so we don't need Express here, and we don't need the types for Express either, I think. But it, uh, yeah. So if I run again, okay. Now to use Fastify, what are we supposed to do is we have to change the adapter a little bit. So in my main.ts file, we have to import the Fastify adapter and Nest Fastify application, right? So in my Bootstrap, we basically change the code to this. We import Nest Fastify application and we import the Fastify adapter. So that's it, basically. So I'm installing this prettier extension, which makes it easier to format files and all. Yeah. Uh, Okay. So let's see with Fastify if it runs or not, first of all. Whether it fails or not. So apparently that's not a problem. It is running fine with Fastify. Okay. Then to add that Swagger UI thing, so why do we want to add the Swagger stuff? You know, when I add it, we'll see. We'll get a very good API documentation of our project automatically. So I'll just add this Fastify Swagger. Just add this. GitHub link, I had shared in the last session. So this is the GitHub link. I'll just put it in the chat for you guys as well. There you go. That's the GitHub link. Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's install the Fastify stuff. Okay, we did that. Then here are some of the changes we need to do. So we have created the app here, right? Here's the app that has been created. Before we start app.listen, we add some code here, which is you create this config and document and Swagger builder stuff. So new document builder from Swagger, Swagger module from Swagger, and yeah. So we add this document builder stuff here. Title, I just add move API. Okay. Once you're done that, then if I just rerun my project, if I go to slash API now, it shows me all the endpoints that are there. It documents all the endpoints to me, which is pretty fantastic, you know. User slash username, user slash user ID. So everything that I created here, what all endpoints I need in my project, they all get automatically documented from my project pretty well. In fact, it allows you to try those out as well very easily, you know, execute that and, you know, get those endpoints easily, you know. Uh, so all the endpoints that are created, so complete UI for that is generated, which is pretty useful actually. Um, a couple of things we should add when we are generating an API like this. So we have this API tag stuff. So how to add types and parameters, right? Um, We can add this API tags thing, which would categorize things very nicely. So I just go to user controller, um, and I add API tags property here. Get in the post controller, add that as well. And in the hashtags controller too. What happens if I do that is if you look at the API file now, things get categorized well. These are all my post related endpoint. These are all my users related endpoint. These are all my hashtag related endpoint. So tagging works very nicely in this case. Okay. API parameters like these post ID, what to do about those? So if I go to say the users controller and there is get username kind of stuff. So for that, there are types and parameters. Now the param should have worked here. Okay, why did that not work? So we check that. Oh, we can do it like this: param username as username, and then we can just directly use that. So if I do it this way, user slash username should have. Okay, apparently did not. Yeah, so it does this thing. User slash at username. It will create this string username thing. When we try it out, we can pass Arnav here and execute it. So it makes the request as user slash at the rate Arnav like that. So all of your parameters, you can define it like this properly using the correct string. Then what will happen is that in your API document that is generated, the variables are properly available where you can add your correct variables and try things out accordingly. Right. So in fact, wherever there is param like that written, we can fix those ones. There's a bunch of places where it is written. Okay, I think all of them should be working correctly now. Yeah. So they're all injectable params inside your API docs. So in fact, you don't need even Postman to try out your API anymore. You can actually use this page to try out your endpoints now, right? Whatever endpoint you want to do, post slash post like that, all that stuff, you can try those things out very easily like this here. Okay. Um, Cool. So it sounds good till now. So we have got our user entity. Couple of things we have not yet added actually. The post must have author ID. Did not do that yet. Post should have author ID here. This should be a many to one relationship because many posts can be written by the same author. I can write a lot of posts, right? So whether the relationship is many to one or one to many depends on which side we're thinking. Okay, so we are writing this relationship within posts, and we are thinking what is the relationship would be from post to author. A post to author would be many to one. Many posts can be written by the same author. One post can't be written by multiple authors, so it can't be many to many. It can't be one to one because we can't let people create only one post. We have to allow them to create more than one post. So post to author, we will have a many to one relationship because of that. Okay, so many to one um, of type user entity, and should be I guess yeah. Okay, so it has got original post ID, reply to ID, and now an author ID as well. And it has a foreign key of author ID references user.id, original post ID references post.id, and reply to ID references post.id. So that's our post entity is now mostly done. We need to have hashtags entity and likes and hashtag to post. We need a mapping table, etc. for these as well. So let's go ahead and do those. In So yeah, Siddharth, actually, we can use a lot of kind of databases. I mean, Postgres is one solution. We can use something else as well. I'm going with Postgres because the indexing and foreign keys would be easier to make using this. Postgres themselves, Twitter themselves, what database they are using for all their posts. They actually use multiple databases. They have SQL databases for actual data, and then they have NoSQL databases for caching. That's how they do. So you can have multiple options, right? So yeah, there is nothing wrong with using Postgres right now here because we can, very easily think of what kind of tables and relationships would be there. In fact, it's a better option than going with something like MongoDB because there you have to embed the relationships rather than having proper foreign keys. The queries would be faster. So that's why we're doing that. This is not Angular, Fascio has asked. So this is a backend framework, NestJS, which the structure is very similar to how Angular is. Some of the contributors are the people who contributed to Angular as well. So if you have used Angular, then it feels very similar to write code. But the project, it's not an Angular project, it's a backend project. So we're building an API here. Okay. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll wrap up the session, today's session here. We all have been live coding for almost 2 hours, including the last session and this session. Um, we'll resume from some point ahead. I will add some issues and enhancements and features that we need to build in the future in this project. And like I mentioned in the last stream, please join our Discord server. So it's on discord.gg/scalar. That's where the Discord server is. There is a channel on our Discord server for talk open source. That's where we discuss all the open source projects that are going on. And for anybody watching this video live right now or later, if you want to participate in many of these open source projects that are going on, so there is this open source projects repository. Under that, there's a discussions part where you can see that we have a bunch of ideas that people have submitted, and some even I have submitted, and some of them we will pick up and turn it into projects soon. These are the projects that we're working on. One is URL shortener, which will become Scalar's official URL shortener. We are gonna intend to deploy it very soon on sclr.ac. We have this domain, and we are building this Moo, which is a Twitter clone, which has the features written down here. The database schema is also documented there, and the API that we need to build that's there. So we are doing this very soon. We will start working on the front end of this as well. We will build an app and a front end website for this as well. Okay. So yeah, that's about it. We keep having sessions mostly on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at night, like this, right? So let's catch up on the next session. For the few people who have turned on to the stream till so late at night, thank you for watching. And stay connected over the Discord. Bye guys. Good night.